Hello and welcome to another edition of the Moving Iron Podcast. This podcast is proudly provided by Axon, helping dealers move more iron for almost 100 years. Find out more at axontire.com. Axon was started almost 100 years ago out of a passion for keeping agriculture moving. It's that same passion that drives them today. With a vision for a better experience for both farmer and dealer, they set out to create a better way to move more iron. When you partner with Axon, you get immediate access to a full range of products and solutions designed to meet the complex needs of today's grower. Axon carries all major brands and sizes of tires, wheels, and tracks. From custom colors and sizes to fully customized wheels, you can have the solution for virtually any problem today's farmer is trying to solve. To find more or become an Axon dealer, please visit axontire.com.
Moving iron in the 21st century. Hard-working people working hard for you and me. Moving iron, time and time again. Through the years you'll find us here. Moving iron.
Hello and welcome to Moving Iron Podcast number 226. This edition of the Moving Iron Podcast is brought to you by Axon Tire, helping dealers move more iron for the past 100 years. For more information, go to axontire.com. Also, tractorzoom delivering insights. If you're looking for a great place to see what's going on in the auction market and track what's going on there trend-wise, use Iron Comp's 500 individual auction houses that report data to them on a daily basis to track what's going on there. So if you're interested in doing that, use Moving Iron at checkout, and you'll get yourself a nice little discount. On this episode of the Moving Iron Podcast, it's been a while since we've had a chance to reconnect here, but I got Aaron Fennell back with us, and we are going to talk about just whatever we come up with here, mainly what's going on in the overall market, what things look like. So, Aaron, how you been, bud?
I have been absolutely fantastic.
That's great. That is awesome.
Hayden's working. The farm is working. Work is working. Life is working. There we go.
Right on. Well, I think that's a good sign that everything's working.
Hashtag it. No, things are good. We this is our first year. I'm gonna talk farm first before
let's do that
before the legitimate stuff.
Mm-hmm.
First year, really spreading wings as wide as they go and taking on a lot of hay jobs, and it's been working great. It really has. My oldest son, he was going to run rake, but other things came up, so we're kind of short-handed, but Brandy has done a great job running the swather and the rake, and I've run the swather and the rake and the baler, and we're getting her done. So nice. Right now we're 100 miles from home, and it's kind of wild, but it's working.
Are you kind of like the John Dutton of hay?
First of all, that I did that 23andMe, and John Dutton is my dad. He's my birth father. It all makes a hell of a lot more sense.
Yeah.
You know, we don't have mountains or trees or a really nice log house or cattle, but we have, way too many handfuls of sheep.
Yeah. So you're maybe like a distant cousin then.
Yeah.
Something like that.
We're definitely blood. Mm-hmm. I can tell you that.
Right.
But
quite removed on your mom's side?
No, it's definitely dad's side.
Right on.
He's probably Grandpa Art, the jockey, remember? Found that out on podcast, whatever that was with Dave.
Yep.
But he's definitely probably first cousins with Grandpa Art. So
Gotcha. Okay. That makes total sense. It's all coming together now.
Oh, yeah. Clear as mud.
Right on. All right. So let's talk about what's happening out there in the equipment business. So
nothing. It's
nothing
just
really. Well, the only reason nothing's happening is because there's nothing to happen with.
We got
part,
iron coming out of our ears.
Yeah.
Dear God, somebody buy something.
Yeah. Unfortunately, I wish that was the case. We had this whole thing right here has presented a whole new problem that I would have never thought about in a million years, but the same principles of used equipment still apply to what we see happening, right? I mean, there's no real difference. Like you got to measure processes the same way.
That's how it should be, but it's not.
Okay, elaborate.
It's not at all, and it's going to be a shitstorm.
I think so. I think there's the ones that are. I think the dealers that are out there that have a really good process in place, really truly understand what it is that their washout cycle looks like, and what their market can handle, and what the overall market looks like, and tracking those trend lines that are happening. If you're doing all that stuff, you should be able to read the tea leaves pretty well to know when the brakes are going to start being applied by the market. Here's a crazy thing. I don't know so much really think that it's going to be this next splash that we see to the downside on the market. It's not going to be, oh my God, no one has anything. We're not buying anything. It's going to be, I think the demand that we see is going to stick around. It might not be like it is right now where it's a feeding frenzy in the first 8R tractor that pops up on the lot. But I really think it's going to be more of a, as new supply catches up, all these things kind of take place and all these things are going like they're supposed to. And then finally that supply and demand curve kind of come together. That's where the problem's going to be at, right? Because
you're right. I'm going to interrupt you right there, even though you're the wizard and the boss. There's a couple problems right off the bat. The demand is going to keep up, maybe not at the fever pitch it is, but it is. It has to. There's nothing. We are a dealership organization known for a lot of combines.
Right.
The wholesalers know if I need a combine, I'm going to call Fennel and see what I can accomplish because we got them coming out of our ears. We have hardly any. From 9,600 to 790, we have hardly any. We're a little heavy in one category, but we have hardly any. Okay. And then you piggyback on that. Brethren Joe in his news conference the other day, all three of them had on their masks. It's mask, variant, blowing up.
Mm-hmm.
So any hope of the factories being hammered down 3 shifts of 8, here we go, we're going to build 8Rs, we're going to have them coming out of our ears, not going to happen. I would like to sell somebody today in August of 21 their brand new 2024 tractor. Yeah. We as an organization, we have tractors that were supposed to hit, a lot of tractors that were supposed to hit in September, hopefully October, boom, late November.
Yeah, I think that's a story though.
Fix that. The Rona is now we're in like Rona 3.5, and how are you going to fix it?
Well, I think what you see now is you have more companies that are going. More people are getting vaccinated. That's number one. So that's going to change things. More people are.
Dude, everybody I know, and this is weird. Okay, of course it is. It's coming from me. Most people that I know on a like my friend, not a friend of a friend, or my family, not your brother, that have gotten sick were vaccinated. And it's less symptoms, but they still got it.
Yeah. Well, it's a flu virus, man. It's the same as getting the flu shot every year. The flu shot isn't going to guarantee that you're not going to get the flu, right?
No, but the flu shot doesn't have microchips, so that's.
Well, yeah, I think so. I think 2 things are happening. One, I think the more people are going to get vaccinated, whatever. Okay, let's see how it happens. Whatever that does, it does. But I think the other side of this too is the majority of the country and the world for that matter are kind of coronavirus out. You know what I mean? There's not a lot of them that are out there sitting there saying, "Hey, man, I'm ready to go back through a lockdown again." You know, I don't think that's not the case. So I don't know. I think we will have to have something significant happen to curb things. And right now, what's logging up on getting stuff production, it's not so much that they don't have the material to get stuff done anymore. That's not so much. I mean, the microchips, obviously, but I mean, it's not like I don't have the steel to put in my steel radials, right? Or I don't have the rubber to make a belt with, or I don't have the whatever to make I don't have the leather to make the seat, all that kind of stuff. I don't have that kind of stuff. That's not so much.
Yeah.
It's
okay, but real quick.
Labor's a problem.
But real quick.
Yeah.
The biggest lose your mind problem in ag right now is those microchips.
Oh, sure.
Guess what? You can build a brand new 8R without that microchip. You just have to drive it. And that is not going to happen in today's world.
Yeah. No, I think you're that's true. Yeah, there's some truth to that, but there's
I do get it for the data side. The receiver does a lot more than just steer the tractor.
Right.
You're collecting.
That's what the data that they're collecting is the most important part of that. I mean, don't get me wrong. There's not going to be a lot of guys out there that are going to, someone had a conversation with someone the other day and we were talking about GPS stuff, and they were a pilot, and they were talking about something to the effect of all this data or all this electronics inside these airplanes now. You're not really a pilot anymore. You're just someone in there making sure that the plane doesn't crash. You're not really technically flying it.
Sensor like a mower.
Right. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So they're just kind of sitting in there monitoring monitors, and doing those kind of things. And I think to some extent there's probably some of that's probably happening on the farming side that, in 1972, there were a lot of straight lines that were planted that were done by hand and not done by by a machine doing that. But at the same time, even those guys that were the straightest in the world were still overlapping rows and double planting and those kind of things. So I mean, I get all that stuff, but it's the data that's the big thing. That's what they're really truly worried about. But it comes back to the labor issue, and that's where the problem's at. There's more such a lack of labor, that we can't get stuff built, can't get stuff trucked, we can't get stuff, all that kind of stuff. We fight. How much time do we spend fighting trucking? Just getting from point A to point B. You know what I mean? And it's not because trucking companies are on strike or they want more money or anything. It's just they've got 50 trucks and they've got 15 drivers. So
right, there's no roadblock up on the clover leaf, and the bears are not wall to wall.
No, they're not in the air either. So
exactly.
So yeah, it's going to be this coming year is going to be pretty cool. I mean, it's going to be an interesting watch because with such high demand here, the same demand is around the world, right, for farm equipment. And opening up those international lines right now are going to be. It's going to be even harder to sell stuff internationally, not because of any real lack of equipment is going to be part of that, but the other side of it is that equipment's so expensive by the time you ship it over there and do all the other stuff. It's going to be an investment to make, but the dollar has also made it fairly attractive to start hitting up some people overseas and start taking a look at that. But all that being said, man, there's just not the equipment right now to go do that with.
Right.
You brought up a good point about how combine levels and what that looks like and where we are at as far as inventory goes. If you take a look at what's going around, there's a lot of people I talk to that are like, man, we've got a combine problem. We got a lot of combines sitting around. And it's a very odd scenario that for as many combines that are moving, we show the numbers here all the time, what that looks like, for as many combines that are moving, for there still to be a quote unquote combine problem with what we have in, just around 10,000 combines on the used equipment marketplace. That's that's numbers like, that's some stuff where you start kind of wondering about what's that overall look like, and where does that grand scheme of the overall customer and what they're thinking about. I mean, who's buying all these combines if everybody has a combine product?
Here's where I think that comes from, Casey. As probably most of the listeners know, and everybody that knows us know, I am I love the combine world. That's why my job exists, right?
Mm-hmm.
If there was not a combine problem, I would not have a job. That being the case, I usually have a pretty good grasp about what's going on, or at least I really try to. So, with that being said, it comes down to, if you have one combine or 100, are you truly willing to get rid of them? It's maybe there's guys out there that think, well, everything's, tractors are just absolutely batshit crazy. There's no receivers for the next 10 years. Combines are, they probably listened to that Casey Seymour fella that a couple of podcasts ago said combines are going to come up. And they're thinking, well, combines are going to follow that trend. And you, sir, are right to a point. But that doesn't mean that everything you have is right.
Oh, that's
everything has a price. Okay.
Exactly.
I would love to be selling 780s for $4.25 and running out of laptop battery, but that's not the real world.
So here's what I would say to that thing. There's one thing. There's two. I think there's like the 10 commandments of used equipment inventory, right? And used equipment process, what that looks like. Like your first commandment is, thou shalt price correctly to the market, right? That's number one
Correct.
thing, right? You got to make sure everything's priced right. Then you got to make sure that it's reconditioned correctly, and you're reconditioning a piece of equipment based on what it is, and not because your shop needs work, right? So
Right.
you're actually pricing something in. You've got these kind of things broke down, and then you kind of keep going through these steps of what it takes to get there, and then you finally get to this one where you have stagnant. Thou shalt not let their inventory become stagnant, right?
Right.
Right. You've repriced it. You've taken new pictures. You've moved it from your ABC lot to your XYZ lot, and you've done those things, and you've moved things around. You've moved it to the back of the lot, moved it to the front of the lot. You've done all these stupid used car tricks, all where you move it around so people think that it's sold and those kind of things.
Put it on the ramps.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Have it set sideways like a Jeep. All those things. But the one thing I think that customers know is how long I think you go to ask any customer if they drive by your lot enough and they see something there, they kind of roughly know how long you've had it.
Oh, yeah.
Right.
Yep. And online, even worse.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Like the picture with snow in it and it's July. You've had that thing for a while. Unless you live in the Panhandle.
we had that up on the Great Divide. Guy was borrowing it to run his moco.
Unless you live in the Panhandle, it could snow anytime. So I mean,
right,
it could honestly do that, or that could be hail too. One of the two. It could be snow or hail. So you could play that off a little bit.
More likely, it's hail.
Likely, more likely. But the one thing about that too is your sales guys also know how long you had that piece of equipment sitting there, right? And I'm a firm believer that you have about 9 months before something, whether it's, I don't care what it is, before a sales guy loses interest in trying to sell that piece of equipment.
Yep.
And the reason for that is it's not necessarily because it has anything to do with it's a bad piece of equipment. It's just, victim of circumstance. It's been rented out during the peak selling time because the machine went down and the customer needed a loaner, or they had to rob parts out of it, which we've done a lot of, robbing parts out of stuff, and we can't sell it, so next thing you know, it's 9 months old, it's 12 months old, it's 15 months old, something like that. Me as a sales guy, when I see something that's 15 months old and I'm going to sell it to a customer, I'll be a little bit leery of that, just because I'm not for sure if it's been here. If it's such a good combine, why is it still here? It's priced right, it's got good pictures, it's clean, got good tires. It's reconditioned right, and it's ready to go to the field.
I guess I'm in the right role in my life because my rebuttal to that would be I will whore that out to the first guy who raises his hand.
Different though. That's the difference between the buyer that you work with and then just your end user buyer at the dealership, right?
Well, and I'm getting at it either way. I'm just saying, hey, it's been here too long. It's a great combine. Here's the number. Take it.
Right.
I don't matter who's on the other end. I don't care if it's 1,000-acre farmer or king of wholesale or exporter. Doesn't matter.
I understand that.
At that point, this machine is this price. Boom. Have at it.
Yep. I think the difference between that and me, the guy that's 2 miles down the road, right? The guy that's 2 miles down the road, if there's an extravagant issue that goes wrong with it and whatever else, not that you don't have to fight those fights because we fight them all the time, but it's a different kind of fight with the guy that's 2 miles down the road and goes to the coffee shop every day.
I get that.
I mean?
Guess what? Little thing called the internet that we are doing and my world exists for. It makes no damn difference if that guy is 6 inches away. If they want to trash you over something, they can do it.
Oh, sure.
If they praise you over something, they can do it.
Sure. And that's not my point. But the difference is that the local guy, your local sales rep.
No, I get it.
Your local sales rep is going to take a look at that. Because I've seen it happen so many times where the same machine is here for 9 months. And we've priced it to the marketplace, and the machine that's just like it came in, some relative hours, same relative specs, exact same price, and the one that's been in for 2 weeks sells first.
Right.
You know what I mean? So that's one of those things that I think there's that stagnicity, I guess, if you want to, of equipment that keeps popping up. That guys have to go back in and really think about what it is that they've got out there, and then does a change of venue make a difference in what's going on? So I mean, I think you got to run through those processes inside each one of those deals and take a look at. Because I mean, it doesn't matter if it's a combine or a chopper or a tractor or whatever. It doesn't matter. I mean, everything, a baler, all those things kind of run into effect because even baling season, as seasonal as it is, we still sell a lot of balers in December. You know what I mean? So a lot of balers in January. You know what I mean? And what they're doing, they're buying for the upcoming year. I mean, that's exactly what they're doing. Or a tax thing or whatever else. So my thing with combines right now is, guys tell me that, things are going to get stagnated, whatever else. Even though I think combine demand is going to pick up, I don't think the price is going to pick up any.
No.
I don't think the price is going to go from being this until they get to the point where they're like, oh man, we only have 5,000 combines to pick from in the entire North American marketplace. Well, yeah, then you'll have some problems. But by that time, you should have new ones hitting the ground. They're going to fill stuff back in,
But you know what? As the new tightens up, and thank God at some point in our adult lives, it's finally happened that it's a little tight on supply of combines. Thank God. I buy a 2-year-old 780 every guy. Right now, he is that guy in 2012 or 11, we should say, that skipped his deal and bought new.
Right.
Just like the guy behind him, right?
Yep.
But because of the shortage, those guys are thinking hit replay, or I can get a 1-year-old super low hour. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And just try to fill the front side guy who actually gets his machines, fleets, whatever. Then you go to that next guy who, man, finally we can jump back to new. But there's way, 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 way less of that from both of those guys this time around. The problem is the first guy wants the 250 set. So does the second guy. So does the third guy.
Right.
So it's like the 500 plus SEP that no matter what it is, fantastic machine, might slow down a little bit.
Right. Yep. And that's the other side of that too is.
And to your point, Casey, it doesn't make them worth anymore. When you get to that highest dollar hanging on your balance sheet machine in the dealer world, you now have 3 guys instead of 1 guy after that combine. Doesn't mean it's worth more. God bless. It is not worth more, but you have a way, way better chance of flushing it down than 2 years ago.
Right. No, I agree with that. No, I think there's some valid point you made there, but I think the biggest thing too is like you hit on it right there. That's the important part of this is that you've got to understand where your hangup's going to be in that washout, right? Like
Right.
First, second, third trade buyers, they all want 250 separator hours, right? So when you get above, when you hit 500, that's when things start really slowing down. And when you hit 750, they even get slower. You know what I mean? So that's really where you're at. And I don't know how many conversations I've had with friends of mine from around the industry about 1,500-hour combines.
Oh yeah.
I mean, they're a lot. I'm like, man, he's going to go ahead and run it through the season 2. So by the time his new one gets in, it'll have about 1,800 on there. I'm like, God dang, man. So I hope you're talking engine hours, not separator hours, because that's there's a bunch of those laying around out there.
Yeah, and I hope that is 5 digits, not 6.
Oh, right. Yeah. So but I will say, if you look at auction values of those machines that have been thick, like we've talked about, that 1,000 to 1,500-hour machine, they have gone up in value a little bit, not a bunch, not a whole bunch, but
Right.
you have seen some, definitely seen some movement there, that have gone in a direction where you're definitely going to see more machines kind of start to settle out. There's not that volatility. They're kind of starting to kind of normalize a little bit, right?
Right.
So seeing that out there more than anything.
And what that is, it's just as you, the master of used equipment, it's just you take that downward flow down. Now, personally, where I think the biggest hiccup is currently is 50-60 series combines.
Okay. Elaborate.
Okay. I would be hard pressed personally to find a 50 series combine that I would put more than 1510 in.
15,000 or 10,000? I mean,
Right.
okay. 10,
Right.
15,000. Okay. Right.
The amount of combines you will get traded in at that point, whistle in the wind, because there's all kinds of holes in them. But if you want to move that combine, that's your number. Okay.
Okay.
On a 50. I mean and I'm talking worst case scenario, Casey. Spreader.
Yes, that's a good point. Right. So think about this. So think about when the 9770 combine came out, the 70 series combine came out. At that point, you had a 60-50, then you went to the 10 series, and then you went to the Oz series, right?
Right.
I still remember when 2009, we were still putting like $26,000 or $27,000, $28,000 in 9600s. We were putting $45,000 in 10 series combines, right? So now, I mean, if you just go through the simple process, and those all had 2,000 to 3,000 separator hours on them. You know what I mean? Like they had a bunch of hours. Now the 50 series is the same thing, right? And the only difference is now is that between the 70 series and the aught series combine, right? Capacity would definitely grew all the way up to 97, 70. Nothing
Right.
like it grew between the 50 series and the 700 series, right?
Right.
Yeah.
No, and I get that. And you know what the culprit is?
What's that?
Who do we always like to throw rocks at on this podcast?
Each other typically, but
Well, yeah. Or 12 and 13 series combines.
Yeah. And they've made that's your relativity point in time, right?
Exactly. Wherever
everything is measured from that.
On the auction market that day, that's your market. Go up or down from there.
Right. And that's exactly right. I mean, if anything, that is that's kind of one of those things. Like I remember where I was at on that day, type of stuff.
Right.
It's just like that. It's a pivotal point in time that you got these machines out there, and they're the things that you measure for X, Y, and Z. Right. Bam.
The day I saw a 2012 S670 under 2000 SEP bring 50, I was here. I was wearing this, and
I remember watching that
time of day.
I remember watching the first auction where I saw the 60 series 600 series combine bring less than 50 grand. And I was like, whoa, wow, we were there.
Yeah. Wow. Yes, I'm on PTO for a couple weeks. I got to deal with this.
Yeah, we're there now. So, I think it's just so important to understand what it is that you've got going on. And right now, it's kind of easy to get carried away with what you're doing, and I think you can do that. I think you can get carried away right now and do some
for the
next 18 months. I really believe that you got 18 months to do some really, really gregarious things. That
I think you have 12, and you better at least pump the brakes.
Oh, I think, I'm saying like 18 months, and it's a hard stop.
Oh, right.
So whatever you're going to do to get to that 18 months, that's your time frame. When you get to month 18, right? When you get to basically December of 23, it'd be 18 months from now, right? Yeah, so I'd be be pretty close.
Yeah,
be pretty close. So basically, December, the end of 23, early 24, you really need to start taking a hard look at what you're doing and making sure that you're not the dumbass out there that's taking that last trade in that's 50 grand too high, because that's going to happen. You're going to get caught, and you got to be
well. And that's what I'm saying. You get to next August, you better pull to the side of the road and check the map.
Yeah. But you should do that all the time.
There, but my God, you better just double check what's going on.
Yep, but you should be doing that every day, though.
Now,
so I'm gonna write 2 articles for Farm Equipment Magazine that I'm gonna put together. And I put together this deal last month where I did basically it was the difference between a used equipment manager and a remarketing manager, right?
Right. Yep.
What they need to do, and I think there is.
Great article.
Well, thanks. I think they have a lot of both of those terms that kind of tossed around, but I think there's 2 different things there. And when I look at it, I mean, if you're a used equipment manager, to me, you're managing used equipment. You're managing the flow of used equipment. You're managing the washout cycle of used equipment. You're managing the metrics that you're using to see if you're doing things right. You're measuring all those things. If you're a remarketing manager, in my opinion, you're basically getting a piece of equipment ready to remarket, right? You're getting ready to sell. You're pricing it. You are getting it through the reconditioning process, and you're making sure that it's where it needs to be at when it needs to go out and sell it. Most reconditioning managers, most remarketing managers are going to be folks that also probably sell a lot of used equipment as part of their job, right?
Right.
Not that used equipment managers don't sell a lot of equipment, because they dabble in that a little bit, but they're spending a lot more time on the management side of understanding what's going on. And on month 16 into month 18, I need to start looking at pumping the brakes more because here's the trend lines I see developing.
Right.
That's the big difference. I think I see kind of one thing I've kind of come to a realization about as I kind of thought about that a little bit, because you need to be measuring things all the time. You've got to be measuring what's going on in the auction market, and that's not just watching the auction and what happens there. I mean, you can watch all the auctions you want to. In my opinion, watching them on the internet is it's kind of, I don't know that you really get much out of it, but going to it in person and watching it, you get a hell of a lot more out of it than you do watching online, because you get to see
body language for every piece.
Yeah, you see how long it takes, because on the internet you don't really get a feel about how long it's taking to get the next bid. You can hear the chant, you can hear the cry and everything else, but you don't see the guy staring at his boots that just raised his hand 2 bids ago, or you don't see the guy walking away because it's now he was high bid, now he's not, and he's not going a dollar higher type of thing. And you kind of watch that stuff, you can see those things happen. That's why I like going to live auctions, man. I hope this coronavirus thing doesn't take that away. I hope that's something that we get to see more of, because there's a like Sullivan's, they do a great job of the online side and the in-person side, and kind of smashing those together and really bringing those two things together. But they haven't had, that I'm aware of anyway, I could be wrong here, but I don't think they've had a live auction since the shutdown.
Yeah, I think you're right.
And
I think you're right. Talking to Zach just a couple weeks ago, I think that's what he said.
Yeah, so it'll be interesting to see. And we're seeing more of that. We're seeing more live auctions come together. I think Steffes has had a few, and there's getting to be more and more of those live auctions as things come together.
Right.
An online auction is significantly cheaper to do than a in-person auction, but they do suck. They're not fun,
dude. Yeah. I want to get a hot dog and wear coveralls and be freezing to death just to not get a damn thing bought because it all brought too much.
I wanted that 50-cent cup of coffee that's just kind of warm brown water because it's cold outside. Right. It tastes good. You know what I mean? That's what I'm looking for.
Exactly. Yeah. We made a gallon of Folgers with just 5 scoops.
Yeah. So I think that particular side, but back to my statement here, you got to be measuring stuff all the time. You have to be paying attention to what's going on, and watching those processes work and how they all come together is, if all you do is you're caught up in the get the trade value and get the trade value, and all you're doing is put trade values on stuff every day, it's going to be hard for you to go back and take a look and make sure you understand what's going on, unless you can disconnect yourself from that for a minute and really dive into what's going on.
Yep.
It was easy for me to do that because I'm a data nerd and I like to do all this kind of stupid stuff. But,
correct.
but the other side of that, the flip side of all that is the evaluation of equipment was something that I don't want to say it's something I hated to do, because that's not true, but it wasn't something I look forward to every day.
Right.
It was the part of the job that was the most important part of what I was doing. It just wasn't the funnest part of what I was doing in my
whereas in my brain, that's the best part of that job. Exactly.
So that's the biggest difference in the person that you're looking at when you start really paying attention to what's going on in that role, is who do you have and what do you got, and then how can you better support those things around there to make sure that you maximize strengths and mitigate weaknesses as much as you can.
Right.
But that's a crazy thing. So I'm very interested to see what happens here in December. There's a lot of stuff coming. This December is going to be kind of cool to see what happens with auction values and retail values, especially because this is going to be an odd year. That obviously I think there's going to be some guys that have tax money they got to get spent and those kind of things for the end of the year, and there's going to be a lot of guys buying 15 hay rakes because that's what they got to pick from.
Right.
I got 30 grand. I got 80 grand to spend.
But not good rakes, because the good rakes are all sold out too.
Yeah. So that's why I think combines are going to be such a high demand, because that's going to be your choice. Mostly, I think mostly your choice is going to be combines. Oddly enough, no one's told me that they don't have any, that they have a combine head problem, right? You'd think typically if you have 80 combines sitting around, you've got 80 to 100 heads, and that's not what I'm hearing. I'm hearing
heads are like crazy short.
I know. I don't think there's enough heads for combines.
My God.
Yeah.
And it doesn't matter if it's an 08, 612, a 1290, a blue 1293,
Yeah,
or a 2021 718 that was technically a demo last year type of head. They're all gone.
yep. Every one of them. And that's the most that's the most shocking thing too. Another thing too is you start looking at some of these short line ends too. We've talked about that a little bit too, that grain carts and augers and bale movers, those kind of things, they're starting to pile up and those kind of things too. So plenty of stuff to pay attention to, and there's a million things going on that can lead to some big problems. So if you're used to the guy listening to this, make sure.
I ordered a new flatbed in January, and since May 1st, every 6 weeks, we're told every 6 weeks.
Yeah. I ordered I don't remember where I even ordered it from now, but ordered a drag that you drag behind like a 4-wheeler.
Oh, right on.
For the church parking lot, so we can keep the
DR.
Yeah, well, it's just like a drag harrow more than anything.
Oh,
looks like a chain harrow, but it doesn't have the harrow spikes. It's just like a chain,
right?
You know,
right.
And we ordered that in March of 19, March of 20. We still haven't got it yet.
Oh man!
And then we're talking about a 4 foot wide,
right?
2.5, maybe 3 feet, or 4 foot long, about 2.5 or 3 feet wide,
right?
That you set cinder blocks on and you drag it behind a 4-wheeler,
right?
It doesn't require a single microchip. We still haven't got it.
But it requires a workforce who can be there and have to worry about all the other shit.
Yeah, exactly right. So yeah, it's a very, very odd time that we live in, and I'll say it again: you've got to pay attention to what's going on, because as fast as this ramps up, it will be faster going down, and it's like that every time. So just
not even overnight. It'll be from like supper to dessert.
Right. If you've done, you can't, the old saying, you can't drink all day if you don't start in the morning. Right.
Right.
I've done it. Right. And it works. It's a fun thing to do. It
is.
But when that wears off at about, 9:30 or 10 o'clock at night, that's not fun. Right. You got to stay on top of that to keep riding that train all the way through. So just make sure you guys, I'll say in a minute, whether you're in the equipment business and you're selling equipment or you're buying equipment, you've got to make sure you know what's going on and what stuff is worth and how to make sure that stuff's going. And to be honest with you, there's no better person on the planet Earth that you should be trying to call right now than Aaron Fennell. So Aaron, what's the best way to get a hold of you if people want to get a hold of you and talk to you about equipment?
Well, I tell you what, call me, text me, 308-760-1193, or I am on Twitter at Aaron Fintel. So there you go.
Right on. And
3 different hammer down.
Yes, on. Well, I'm Casey Seymour with Moving Iron Podcast. You can check me out on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. That's where you're going to find the latest editions of the Moving Iron Podcast, as well as any blogs I have posted will be there as well. Also go to Moving Iron LLC, and you'll find the entire library of everything that is Moving Iron. So whether you're listening to podcasts, want to read blogs, or if you want to just see what Aaron Fennell looks like, go to the Moving Iron Podcast contributors page, and boom, you'll see him right there and be able to see what he looks like.
There he is. Yeah, shouldn't have done that.
And the other thing too is Moving Iron Summit's coming up. That's pretty well sold out. Not a lot of, I don't think we have any space left, to be honest with you. So check that out. If you're still interested in coming to that, I might be able to find some way to get you there. Just, hit me up at Moving Iron Podcast, MovingIronPodcast.com, and I could see what I can do for you. So with that, I'm Casey Seymour with Aaron Fennell. Let's go smart, folks. Out.
You want to have a meaningful competitive advantage to help sell more equipment. Whether you represent the sales, parts, or management department of an implement dealership, there's a surprising amount of complexity when it comes to tire, wheel, and track technology. Let Axon worry about that so you can get back to supporting your customers. Axon has leveraged years of experience to create a streamlined process that gives you a proven path to help today's grower and sell more equipment. The roots of their organization go back almost 100 years to the invention of the rubber tractor tire. Supporting agriculture is the number one driver of Axon, from product development through sales and service. To find more or become an Axon dealer, head over to agmarkets.com.
Moving iron in the 21st century. Hard-working people working hard for you and me. Moving iron time and time again. Through the years you'll find us here. Moving iron. Moving iron in the 21st century.